boxing? Why the fuck are you watching boxing, you sensitive bitch? Why are you watching it? Boxing is not patty cakes. It's not tiddlywinks. It's a brutal motherfucking sport. If you haven't fucking realized, Slugfest City, bitch.
What up, everybody in the YTBC? So, I know I'm a little bit late on this, but not really late. It's just the news broke out earlier today. I was working. It is what it is. Gotta make my money first. But now that I'm off work, I'm gonna go ahead and make this video. Now, everybody's already heard that Alexander Povetkin has officially failed a urine test. At least that's what we're hearing through the grapevine. I really still haven't heard any official word, but as of recording this video, but it seems like it's pretty legit. I believe it was Dan Raphael who tweeted it or something, but the news broke out that Alexander Povetkin has failed the drug test. So, he's tested positive for some weird drug. I can't remember the name of it. Molderin, or I don't know. It starts with an M. I know that much. But here's my take on it. I've been critical of Deontay Wilder in the past, and then I kind of let up, and that's because I honestly think that he deserves more credit for Duhaupas than what he got. I have to admit, Duhaupas ended up being a better opponent than what I had expected, and Spilka was a solid opponent that he basically took because Povetkin wasn't going to be ready in January. So you really can't be mad at that. Duhaupas was solid. Molina, I don't even want to talk about Molina. That was a fight that shouldn't have happened. But Duhaupas surprised me. Much better opponent than I had given him credit for. And then Spilka, very solid. And Deontay Wilder disposed of him. And if I remember correctly, it was round 8. So, that kind of made up for the finally putting away Eric Molina in round 9 when he should have been able to get him out within 3 or 4 rounds. But as far as this situation is concerned, I mean, if it's true, if it's just a rumor, then he should still fight him. But if it is true, then I can't co-sign on him taking that fight. I mean, he could decide to fight him anyways, but is that daring to be great, or is that daring to be stupid? I think that's daring to be stupid. I do like Deontay Wilder a lot. After he fought Molina, I was a bit disappointed in him. Then after Duhaupas, he kind of turned, that kind of turned changed my thoughts on Deontay Wilder. And then after Spilka, I was pretty hyped for Deontay Wilder. And then when I heard he signed this fight, I was definitely hyped. And I was just waiting for the fight to happen. I was just waiting, and now I don't want the fight to happen. I didn't think I'd ever be saying this because I didn't expect this to happen. But to be honest, I do not want this fight to happen if Povetkin has been tested positive for PEDs. Deontay Wilder has a daughter, he has family, he has loved ones, and I know that being on PEDs doesn't necessarily mean that Deontay Wilder would have even lost, but it's always a risk. It's an unnecessary risk when you're dealing with somebody who's been juicing. I've contemplated the whole idea of, well, let's just legalize juicing and just let everybody do it. And I used to think that was a good idea at one point, because I was just thinking, oh, we'll have a bunch of super soldiers in the ring. We'll get, the absolute best we can get out of these guys. But if you really sit down and you think about it, it all comes down to who has access to the most effective steroids. That's all it's going to come down to, is who has access to the most effective steroids, who is able to use them the most effectively. You know, you might have fighters who, and this might even happen now, it's just because it's illegal to begin with, you don't hear about it, but it wouldn't surprise me if fighters were paying, you know, PED dealers to not sell to, you know, another fighter, you know, to their opponent. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can see that it gets more corrupt, because when it comes to that stuff, money talks. So I do think that, you know, after thinking about that, and, you know, just the fact that it's not healthy, I mean, in the long run, these guys can end up dying at young ages because they were, you know, on some shit. And I think it's just better that everybody fights clean. It needs to be regulated. I think that I really think every combat sport needs to be regulated to the extent that every fight there's testing for. And excuse me. And I do think, and I've been saying this long before I heard anybody else say it. Not that I'm saying I think I'm the first person to come up with this. To me, it's just common sense. So I'm sure other people have said it. But I do think that there should be at least a governing body that oversees all governing bodies and fines them for not being in compliance. And I think they should also be the ones to investigate. Well, first off, they should be coming up with their own testing, this governing body. In a perfect world, if I were the president of YTBC student governing body to oversee all the governing bodies in boxing, the way I would do it is I would come up with my own testing. You know, take a testing that is already proven to the best of its ability, maybe try to improve, you know, maybe continuously work to improve it as much as possible, and make that the standard. And then if something ever happens where, you know, we hear like this thing that happened, like with the IVs, for instance, that got swept under the rug, supposedly. I'm just saying supposedly. I believe it. I believe Floyd Mayweather was using the IV, but I'm not gonna act like I know what's going on either. You know, I don't know for sure. But if something like that were to happen, then this governing body would also be in charge of doing their investigation. And people, you know, being that the governing body owns the testing agency, they would have the authority to fire people if need be, prosecute people if need be. If, you know, you're sweeping things under the rug and then a fighter dies, well, now you can be charged with their murder, maybe not first degree, but maybe second, third, or manslaughter. These are just my ideas. That's the way that if I was in charge of this governing body that would oversee testing and other governing bodies, that's the way that I would ideally handle things. But back to the situation, I mean, Povetkin really screwed up royally, if this is true, because like I said, I still haven't heard any official word, but the sources this is coming from are all pretty credible, so it sounds like it's true. So I'm not gonna say screw Russia. I think that's a bit much. Just because one Russian is cheating doesn't mean that they all cheat. That goes for any country. You got good and bad. So, I mean, it is what it is. But I do think that Povetkin really screwed up. He really screwed the fight fans out of a fight that everybody's been wanting to see. But Deontay Wilder cannot be labeled a cherry picker for avoiding Povetkin. I think he needs to get another voluntary. In my opinion, Povetkin needs to be, he really needs to be suspended maybe for a year or more. I would say more. Excuse me. And I would also say that he loses his ranking. I think he needs to be knocked down some pegs as far as the ranking is concerned. That way when he does come back, he doesn't automatically just have a title shot. I really think they need to make an example of him. And I don't dislike Povetkin. I really don't want to say this stuff about Povetkin, but I mean, this is something serious. It's very, very serious. We're dealing with people's healths. We're dealing with people's lives. And this shouldn't be taken lightly. So I'm really hoping that they make an example out of him. Take away his ranking. Make him start from the bottom. And also give him maybe 2 years suspension. When he comes back, he's older. It's going to be harder for him because, I mean, he's already not the youngest guy. And then he's going to have to work his way up through the rankings. And we all know making fights are not always the easiest thing for some of these fighters. So it's going to be a tough road. And I don't feel bad for him because he brought it on himself. That is, of course, if all this stuff is true. But anyways, this is very disappointing news. My best wishes to Deontay Wilder. Hopefully, I'm hoping that, you know, maybe he could fight Tyson Fury and maybe get, you know, just take another voluntary in the meantime. You can't get mad at him for taking voluntaries at this point because his mandatory right now is just, I don't want the fight to happen now if he's been juicing. I want the right man to win. That's what I want. And I also like Deontay Wilder. Plus, he's repping the States. I'm from the States. So that, you know, but even if it was the other way around, I wouldn't want Deontay Wilder to win because he was juicing. And I definitely don't want him to harm his opponent because he was juicing. You know what I'm saying? If something happens and he hurts him with his you know, just his God-given ability, that's, you know, it's unfortunate. I hope it never happens, but it's unfortunate if it does. But if he's juicing, then it's just, we need to put an end to this stuff. But anyways, to all my subscribers, anybody watching my videos, or if you just so happen to stumble upon this video, hope you all have a wonderful and blessed day. Peace.
Undefeated.